Could you survive 24 hours on Mars? You are standing on a cold red desert, 60 million miles from home. Above you, the sun is a small, pale dot in a dusty pink sky. It looks almost peaceful, almost like somewhere you could live. People call Mars our second home, the backup planet for humankind. But this world is not waiting to welcome you. Unprotected, it would kill you before you could walk across the street. This is 24 hours on Mars. First, the good news, the part that fools almost everyone. A day on Mars is astonishingly close to a day on Earth. One Martian day, a Sol, lasts 24 hours and 39 minutes. The gravity is gentle, about a third of Earth's, so you could leap 3 times as high. There are deserts, canyons, dead volcanoes, even ancient dried-up riverbeds. From far away, it looks like a place you could simply walk out onto and explore. So imagine you do. You step outside with no suit. And in that instant, Mars begins to kill you 3 different ways at once. First, you try to breathe, and there is nothing to breathe. The air here is barely 1% as thick as Earth's. And what little there is almost entirely carbon dioxide, poison to you. Oxygen makes up about 1/10 of 1% of it. Effectively, nothing. Your lungs heave and pull in emptiness. Second, that missing air means almost nothing is pressing in on your body. The pressure is so low that the water inside you cannot stay liquid. Your saliva, your sweat, the water in your blood, it all begins to boil. Not because it is hot, because there is nothing holding it together. Within about 10 seconds, your body begins to swell. Within 20, you black out. And within about 2 minutes, you are gone, suffocating and boiling at the very same moment. And we have not even mentioned the cold, because Mars is not the warm, red desert it appears to be. It is one of the coldest deserts you could ever imagine. The average temperature across the whole planet is about -60 degrees. And when the sun goes down, that number falls off a cliff. A night on Mars can plunge below -85 degrees. Cold enough to freeze the breath in your lungs, if you had any breath left. But say you survive the air and the cold. There is a third killer you cannot even see. Here on Earth, we are wrapped in a magnetic shield and a thick blanket of air. Together, they block the constant storm of radiation pouring off the sun. Mars lost its magnetic shield billions of years ago, and its air is far too thin to stop anything. So radiation from space slams into the surface, unfiltered, every single day. Stand out here long enough, and it silently damages every cell in your body. This is why, if humans ever truly live on Mars, they will not live on it. They will live under it, buried in tunnels and covered shelters, hiding from the open sky. Above ground, everything you need to stay alive must be carried from Earth. The air in your suit, the water, the food, the warmth, every bit of it. On Mars, you do not live off the land. You live inside a bubble, and the moment the bubble fails, the planet takes you. And Mars has a way of testing that bubble, because something is beginning to build on the horizon. Far across the plain, the pink sky is turning a darker, dirtier brown. A wall of dust is rising, and it is coming your way. Mars has the largest dust storms in the entire solar system. The worst of them do not cover a region or a country. They can swallow the whole planet from pole to pole. The winds inside them can howl at over 100 miles an hour, and they can last not for hours but for weeks, even months. You have seen this before in the films. An astronaut fighting through a screaming Martian gale, gear torn away, hurled off his feet. It is one of the most famous dangers in all of science fiction. And it is almost completely wrong. Here is the truth about the great storms of Mars. Yes, the wind moves fast, but remember how desperately thin this air is. With so few molecules in it, that 100-mile-an-hour wind carries almost no force. Against your body, it would feel like the gentlest breeze back on Earth. It could not knock you down. It could not tip over a spacecraft. The dramatic storm that stranded the hero was a Hollywood invention. But do not relax yet, because the storm is still deadly in a slower way. That dust climbs high into the sky and blots out the sun. For weeks, the world turns dark and even colder, and the solar panels stop drinking light. And on Mars, that power is your warmth, your air, your life. A storm here does not throw you off your feet. It quietly switches off your lights. Which brings us to the biggest myth of all, the very one you started this journey believing. That Mars is our second home, a backup planet, ready and waiting. It is a beautiful idea, and it is one of the most dangerous misunderstandings we hold. Look honestly at what this world actually is. An atmosphere of unbreathable poison, a pressure so low your own blood would boil, an average temperature of 60 degrees below zero, a surface bathed in cell-shredding radiation, and storms that can black out the sun for a month. This is not a spare Earth sitting in reserve. There is nothing here that wants you to live. Not the air, not the ground, not the sky. Every scrap of survival has to be built, sealed, and defended every second. Compared to Mars, the very harshest desert on Earth is a lush paradise. In the Sahara, at least there is air. At least there is warmth by day. Here, there is nothing at all but what you carry in with you. And yet, knowing every bit of this, we are still going. Robots already roll across these plains, and human boots are being planned. Not because Mars is welcoming, it is the opposite of welcoming, but because it is the next great question mark hanging there in our sky. To stand on it at all would be one of the hardest things a human has ever done. It would mean carrying a piece of Earth with you, everywhere, forever, and never, for a single heartbeat, trusting the world outside the glass. So, after all of that, could you actually survive here? Not the way you first pictured it, strolling out onto the open sand. Out there, unprotected, you would last about 2 minutes. But sealed inside a suit or a buried base, with Earth's air on your back, yes. You could survive a day, and then another, and another. For exactly as long as nothing tears, nothing freezes, and nothing runs out. That is what surviving on Mars truly means. Not striding across a new frontier beneath an open sky, but living inside a fragile bubble of Earth, on a world forever trying to pop it. So could you survive 24 hours on Mars? With everything you needed strapped to your body? Maybe. But never in the easy way the dream is sold to you. You imagined a red desert quietly waiting to become our second home. The truth was a silent, frozen, airless world that kills in 2 minutes. A place with the largest storms in the solar system that could not even push you over. A ground soaked in radiation, beneath a sky with no shield. Mars is not a backup for Earth. It is the clearest proof of how rare and how precious Earth truly is. Everything you fight to survive out here, our own planet simply hands you for free. Air, warmth, water, a shield against the sky, all of it, every second, with no suit, no wall, no bubble. That is the real lesson hidden in this cold red dust. We are still going to Mars, and we should. To stand there would be one of the greatest things our species has ever done. But no one who truly understands that world calls it an easy escape. It is not a door out of our problems. It is a 2-minute death, wearing the mask of a desert. And the more you learn about it, the more one quiet thought grows. The most incredible planet for human life is not the red one in the sky. It is the blue one you were born on. So, could you survive 24 hours on Mars? Maybe. But the real miracle was always the world you were trying to leave.